the only thing that I've really decided on is that I kind of know what kind of game I want to make. I want to make a narrative puzzle game with the protagonist solving a bunch of puzzles that are kind of diegetic to the world. I'm thinking more of games like 11th Hour or the way Resident Evil has lock and key puzzles than a Sokoban style puzzle game. Because I want clues and I want items and I want you to be able to pick up things and get things throughout the game. I really need to figure out an inventory system. Unfortunately, this is also one of my biggest skill hurdles that I can identify right now, because I don't really know or understand how data should be passed around and stored and transferred, and I don't really know or understand the array and a dictionary and enums and all these things that are used to do that kind of stuff.
All right. Half an hour to do a quick bit of setup. All right. But we got it set up, ready for the tutorial. Gonna take a quick break, grab a drink, and I'll be back.
So I'm using this tutorial by Bonkahi. I'm butchering the name. I'll put a link to their channel so you can check it out if you want. And after watching the first 2 parts of the tutorial, I felt confident that this would show me what I needed so that I could make an inventory system. And it should be usable in my prototype.
I know what I need to do to make an inventory. It needs to be able to identify the item that you want to put into your inventory. It needs to put that item into the inventory. The inventory is probably going to be an array, some kind of list. So it's got to put that there. It's got to store the file path so you can respawn it. It's got to unspawn it. And then when you go in, it's got to say, hey, you have this in your inventory. You can do this with it. Or you can spawn this thing to use it in some way. So I kind of know what I need to do to make it. I just don't know what I actually have to do, like what the things are called that I have to type out to make that happen.
With that understanding, I dive in, and in the first tutorial, I run into some errors that I can't figure out. No matter what I do or how many times I go over the code that I've written and compare it to the tutorial, I cannot figure out why it doesn't work.
Alright. So clearly whatever's supposed to let me take the item and just drop it and didn't work. And because I don't fully understand what's going on, I need to start over. From the beginning. Try to redo this. So that's what I'm going to have to do.
So I'm starting over from scratch. I rewrite the code from the tutorial and I get it working. Part of my problem is, this is my first time using arrays to hold information and pass it around. And I have to talk through the process several times before it starts to make sense. And while I'm doing this, I'm going back and forth from documentation as I come across methods that I haven't seen before. And all these new things, it's so easy for me to make a mistake or not understand the way that a syntax works, and everything just breaks and I don't understand why it's broken or what needs to be changed.
I don't quite... But I understand the logic behind what this is doing, at least a little bit better than I did 5 minutes ago, which is good.
I am slowly learning how these structures work and how they work within the framework for the game, but I still lack so much skill and fundamental knowledge because I'm teaching myself everything. Everything is learning experience for me. I'm not just making an inventory handler, I'm also learning how to troubleshoot the code and learning how the array works, learning how for loops work all at the same time.
The thing that I really like about this tutorial is I'm learning, I'm using for loops, which I've never used before. It's a new concept. So having him just be like, this is a for loop, boom, but I'm slowly trying to figure out what is this for loop doing. This goes through all those, and if it can't do it, then it breaks. I think that's how it works. So do this, and once you can't do it, break, stop. I'm kind of surprised that worked. I mean, it can use some fine tuning and tweaking.
It's a good start, and it makes me feel like a programmer, like a real game dev. And more importantly, I'm able to make it work. It also shows me ways that I can use this structure in other areas of my game, like building a hint system or a narrative tracking system.
One of the things I need to do is build an information tracker. That would be really nice, so that as you go through and find information, like written words, there should be like keywords that you can click on to add to a list that will then refer you back to those things that you found. I'm setting it up so that I freely control the character without the mouse.
Unfortunately, there's a bit of an issue. The tutorial relies on a mouse and keyboard control scheme for it to work. You have to click the items, drag them and drop them to move them around and interact with them.
Because I don't know if I'm going to do mouse, keyboard, controller.
And I haven't decided on what control scheme my game is going to use. I had thought it was going to have controller support, but I don't know how to put that into the game that uses mouse and keyboard yet. And this is working, so I'm going to continue with mouse and keyboard, and hopefully in the future I can figure out some way to get a controller working.
There, that should do it. So now, let's see what happens. And bingo bango. Nice. Yeah, the warping's a little weird if you don't have anything in your inventory, because it's always to the right a little bit. That's a problem. Cool. Yeah, he's got one more tutorial that goes over some basic bugs and some equipping functionality. So I'll do that, and then if I can get that into the actual game, that's a big hurdle overcome to getting the puzzle game up and running, because being able to pick up items and then have them interact with other items is a huge part of puzzles. So, pretty pumped.
After finishing the tutorial, I still need to fix a few bugs, and I want to start seeing if I can customize this inventory handler to do the things that I want it to do. There are still some issues with it as well, with the way that it picks up and drops items. On how all these things work together is only based on the information from the tutorial, not on any kind of foundational computer science principles or principles about programming or understanding about how those things work at the most basic level.
In nearby bodies. Right now it's just going to print that, hey, it recognizes it. And that's what I need to get. So once I get it to there, so that you can pick up objects, interactable objects, and then you can activate the activatable items like computers and other stuff.
I decide I will need two types of items, a pickup item and an interactable item. I don't know how to do this though, and so I just hacked together a method that works by copy pasting the pickup function and then checking if the item is in a group interactable. I could have had way less code by sticking it all in an if statement in the same function and making it just check if it was in one or the other and only calling that one function when it had to do that. But I don't know that that's a cleaner way to do. And I'm doing this all over my code base, and eventually it leads to bugs and issues down the line. But right now, I don't know that that's coming. I'm just trying to get things working, and this is one of my skill issues that I need to work on.
Alright, so I'm on to my first real bit of having to program something. I need to take this code that I made in this tutorial, which is this nice, like, inventory. It's got a UI, and you can pick up items and interact with them. And so now I need to take this, I need to add functionality to it so it can do more than the sum of its parts. Now this is going to be my first challenge, as a games programmer, because I don't know how to do this and I didn't come up with this. So let's give it a go. Yes, because I have signed you. Now let's do it. Yes. Yes, it worked. Yes, okay. Well, that worked. That is very good. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so step 1, check that off.
These moments help bolster my interest and reaffirm my decision to take up game dev and programming. I love the small successes when experimenting and trying new things. When they come together and they just work, it is so exciting, especially in something like this where there's so much try and fail, try and fail, try and fail, and to have something just work, yeah. And with that, I have an inventory system and I'm ready to move on and start working on the next steps to get this Doug puzzle game something that somebody can play so I can get feedback. And that's now my new laser focus. Well, diary, that's it for me. Good night.